Another week, another 2 new tanks. And not just 2 new tanks, there's also something new with this guy right here, as you might have been able to see from the background. However, this is something probably best explained during a live stream and when I'm properly set it in, because yes, I finally have my own apartment. Well, I am renting because imagine buying an apartment in 2026 as a young person. Forget about it, it's impossible. Regardless, that's beside the point. We have 2 new vehicles. We have the NK-1 and the AMX 29 Bélier. And Bélier stands for a ram, like the animal on the Ram Dodge Charger. Is it Ram Dodge Charger? I don't know. You know, on the Ram cars. It's his animal. Beefed up goat. There we go. But yeah, let's first start with the NK-1. And the NK-1 is already rubbing me a little bit in the wrong way. Why exactly? As you can see, that thing is a 277 hull with some side plating and an i7 turret with some spaced armor on tier 9. Obviously, it looks like on paper that the armor of the i7 turret is weaker, but Wargaming, like, don't get me wrong, I adore watching Boy Lie Hobby Time. I adore watching North of the Border, two independent YouTubers which are doing either kit bashing and building dioramas, and the other one is doing it with clay. I love seeing that. I love the ingenuity, the idea of kit bashing things together. Heck, this is how Star Wars came about, right? They kit bashed these spaceships together to use them as models and then fly them in front of blue screens. That's awesome. That's amazing. That's fun. However, we are still a tank game which has blueprints and has, how do we say, they exist usually. At least older ones and new ones did exist. And why the hell do we start kit bashing in this tank game when there are also other nations around, like Switzerland, like Hungary, like in quotation mark ex-Yugoslavia? There probably also were tank designs in this specific time, but I understand that this might be a little bit of a hot topic. But also Argentina, etc., etc. You know, we could have tanks from there, but no, we have another Russian heavy tank, but this time it's not tier 8 anymore, but tier 9, and it's kit bashed of 2 existing tanks already with a little bit of extra floof. Let's move on and compare it to its brethren. I decided to compare it to the T10. Kind of makes sense with the whole being 277, the Object 277 and the Object 705. It's the 77777 because it is a tank you can potentially get for free. We don't know yet what the NK-1 is. And the D705, which has the same amount of alpha, because yes, the NK-1 has a 490 alpha gun. Luckily for you guys, it is very inaccurate, 0.45, but it aims in very quickly. So it's the most inaccurate of the bunch, but it aims in the quickest of the bunch. A little bit like the Bourrasque in that regard. Funny, when the next tank we are going to have a look at is Bourrasque adjacent. Anyway, the DPM though is rather poor, almost 1900. Yes, it's almost like the 777, but it's 100 less than a 705 and it's 300 less than a T10, while the T10 also having quite a bit better gun. What the NK-1 could make or break is probably how the gun handling is, how should we say, influencing the tank. Because if the gun handling is great, yay. If it is bad, nay. And it will be very frustrating to play for you as the player of the vehicle, and it will be very frustrating for the enemies which are fighting it because they know it has bad gun handling. Pen-wise, saying it's bad might be a little bit of an understatement. 244 AP is very poor. 303 millimeters of APCR pen is also very poor. Just don't forget, this thing can see tier 11s. And if it sees a Taschenratte, have fun. Now I know why it has spaced armor on the turret, so it can try trading against a Taschenratte while being hulled down, you know? Hey, that makes sense. Because this way, it probably can't penetrate the turret because of the spaced armor. Man, Wargaming is a genius when they can just invent tanks as they wish and as they please. If they invent tanks, at least they could have given it a little bit more gun depression, because -6 ain't too banger. Let's move on. Mobility-wise, it's actually pretty decent in the top speed department. 50 kph top speed, 15 in reverse. However, the specific HP per turn ratio, depending how good or bad the soft stats are of the mobility, it might be even slower than a 705, which has a slower top speed. So yeah, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan. Then again, if the armor is pretty decent, that makes sense. It has one of the lowest HPs, as you can see. It is tied with the 777. However, the armor, and this is the main problem with always watching the armor values. How good is it really? It's hard to say. 240, is it here? Is it here? Where is the 240 on a turret? Does it include the spaced armor? Is it steeper or same angled or less steep than the 277 hull? It looks slightly less steep than on the 277, but this might also be because of how low the camera is pointing upwards on this tank. So yeah, there is a lot of unknowns. However, if it actually has 110 millimeters of side armor, we can definitely work with that and can definitely do things with that. So I guess it is okay with the mobility. 380 meters of view range also is fine, could be better, could be worse, and signal range no one cares about. The crew is pretty decent because it is the same as you would see on an IS-7, so you can use it for crew training. Let's move on to the RAM, the AMX 29 Bélier. And all my hearts go out to all the AMX 30B enjoyers, all 2 of you guys, that this tank is still not getting any buffs. And now we're getting a fantasy AMX design, which has the Bourrasque mechanic fused with an autoreloader, fused with the Italian heavy tank mechanic. Because this is basically what the Bélier is. It has a 390 alpha gun, 127 millimeters of caliber, pretty decent pen, 14 seconds reload, 3 seconds interclip, and if you want to shoot, or like if you miss time and you shoot before your second shot is loaded, you get up to 75% quicker reload, which comes down to around 3.5 seconds reload time for the first shot in your chamber. I've decided to compare to the Coccodrillo, the BatChat, and the Progetto. You will see the BatChat in a bit. Right now it doesn't make a lot of sense. The Progetto is mid because it's also like, there's not really any Bourrasque on tier 10 at the moment. And the Ares doesn't make sense to compare it to, and the Coccodrillo only really makes sense because of the alpha. Because, if I'm not mistaken, and please write in the comment section below if I'm stupid and I'm wrong, but I do think that the Bélier will be the new medium tank on tier 10 with the highest alpha in the game. Not entirely sure, but I think it is. Tier 10, not tier 11. Tier 11, technically the 432U has higher with the ability to boop, 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 boop. But on tier 10 it should have the highest, because currently the Coccodrillo had the highest with 470. Now, what does this do to us? It gives us a burst of 980 damage in just 3 seconds, which funnily enough is very, very close to what the TVP has to offer. The TVP has 3 rounds and then reload 1.5 seconds each, 320, then 640, then 960. So it is actually just shy of 20 alpha of the Bélier for the same amount of time. Just the TVP has another shell in its chamber to do a tad more damage, which the Bélier cannot. The Bélier, on the other hand, though, has the ability to say, you know what, now I'm sniping, because it has 0.33 accuracy. That is better than the BatChat, the Coccodrillo, and the Progetto. It also has 2 seconds aim time, which is better than the Coccodrillo by a long shot, which is better than the BatChat by quite a bit, and which is better than the Progetto by a little bit. So now we have a Bourrasque, technically, because of the mechanic of 2-shot autoloader, but it's an auto-reloader, so it's much more flexible, which is also accurate and has an insanely quick aim time, while you will also see it in just a bit being very, very fast. Yes, the DPM though sucks. It only has the same DPM as the NK-1, and I did try to recalculate it, and yes, maybe I made a mistake. Knock on wood, I didn't, but it's very low. Even the Progetto is better, the BatChat is better, and the Coccodrillo is better as well. The thing is, though, the Coccodrillo loads a little bit quicker because it only has 470 alpha, we have 490. Not too bad, though. Minus 6 degrees of gun impression, that's probably the biggest drawback because the tank is tiny, so you will have definitely some issues peeking over things. And speaking of tiny, it is also hella speedy. 63 kph top speed. Yes, it's not as fast as a BatChat. It has almost the same HP per ton ratio, so we can live with that. And it is much faster than the Progetto, because the Progetto only has 18.75 HP per ton ratio. We not double it, but we are very close to have like 70% more. And that's hella speedy, and 23 kph in reverse, which is also hella good, meaning that if you're running with a turbo, which you most likely should, that thing is going to go like what, 26, 27 kph in reverse. Speedy Gonzalez. And now comes the kicker, and this is why I have the BatChat with you guys. Quickly, survivability. 1800 hit points, very low. All of them have the same. Whole armor, non-existent. If I'm not mistaken, even the... Actually, wait a second. Does the Tessac can overmatch it? 16, 32, 48, and I think it has a 57mm gun, if I'm not correct. So it can overmatch the side armor of the Bélier if these have overmatch mechanic. On the whole armor, we have 18, 36, 50, 36, 54, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'll do the engineering thing, which is using a calculator. 18 times 3. Technically, it should also be able to overmatch the side armor. The front armor. That is crazy. And that also counts for the Ares MBTs, by the way. But yeah, the turret armor says 200, but yeah, forget about it. It's probably only just the gun mantlet. It can bounce something. So we don't have armor, we don't have HP. What we do have is, out of these 3 vehicles, and the BatChat is known to have really good camo, having better camouflage than the BatChat. Not while shooting makes sense, it's a bigger gun, but it has 0.8%, almost 1% better camo than a BatChat during standing still, and 0.6% during movement. Yes, it has a little bit less view range. Keep that in mind. It has only 390, not 400. However, this a bit more camouflage is banging. That is an amazing bonus for the Bélier. Like, it means that you can stand in a bush even better than a BatChat, and you are small. So you will be a tough target to hit. And there will be quite a bit of opportunities where you are able to do quite a lot of damage in very quick succession and then hide away again because you're so fast. You know, the BatChat, yes, is also small-ish and fast. The thing is, though, for the same amount of damage you do, the BatChat needs to wait for around 5.4 seconds. And then it gets around 1000 damage, 1070. Here you already do 980 in 3 seconds, so you're much quicker. It's basically, while the BatChat does 2 shots, you do also 2, but you just do a lot more damage. While being more accurate, while having fast rain time. So that's crazy. That's genuinely crazy. So yeah, the NK-1 is probably going to be whatever. I'm also not a big heavy tank fan as well, you know that. But the Bélier, if it stays like that, that thing will be banging. And we barely talked about the auto-reloading bonus. What does it really mean? It basically, again, very simple put, it's the Italian heavy tank equivalent. So you shoot your shot while not being fully loaded yet with your second shot or your next shot, and you get a bonus on the previous shot, meaning that you have like on a maximum 3.5 seconds for the first shot you just shot. So you technically get a little bit of a benefit if you screw up. That's it. It's a little bit weirdly written also by Wargaming, so we'll see how that feels. In any case, Bélier, banging, NK-1, whatever, kit bash tank. Feedback. I'm working on the echo issue. It is very hard because already, as you can see, these things back there, these are already, how should I say? Now I forgot the word. Echo absorbing material, there we go. I need to get something else, but it's very expensive. It's going to be one of these really nice wooden veneered walls. However, it's very expensive and I don't have the funds at the moment. So we'll figure that out sooner or later. The second thing is feedback. In general, did you like the video? Do I need to change anything? Can I change something with the microphone? Should I need to add some music? Should I just make individual videos just for the NK-1 and the AMX 29? How do you like your tea? My name is RagingRaptor. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I am back, baby.